I came to Florida, I was so enamored by the fusion, like the Latin, the Southern.
Sure.
So I kind of honestly, I got away a little bit from my roots.
Welcome to Tampa's Table, a culinary journey. My name is Jeff Houck. I'm Vice President of Marketing for the 1905 family of restaurants. And today, the guest is Marty Blitz, chef and owner at Mise En Place in the Grand Central neighborhood, just a little bit west of the Hillsborough River in downtown Tampa. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. We've known each other a while.
Yes, we have.
When I was at the Tampa Tribune in the early 2000s, I tripped across you because you were only like 2 blocks away.
Right.
I would come over for lunch. But also, I remember the first time that I heard your name was associated with the Taste of the NFL,
Right.
which was a charity event that they have during the Super Bowl where they would invite one chef from each of the 32 NFL cities, and they would come and represent each one and raise money for hunger relief. And I thought, okay, you got to be pretty badass if you're going to be the one person representing a whole city.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what kind of food you prepared and how do you represent Tampa by food in a place that people might not know Tampa for?
So Mise En Place is basically a new American style restaurant.
Right.
So it's modern twists on different regional cuisines. And we just have a lot of fun with it.
And so when you're trying to make a menu for something like this, you got to do mass quantities because there's thousands of people.
Oh, for the NFL, yeah. So for that, we try to do something that will travel well, that we can reproduce with successfully in another city because you never know what kind of kitchen you're going to have.
Sure.
So sometimes after doing it, we did it for about 24 years. So after doing it every year, we realized if we didn't have to use the kitchen at all, that would be awesome. So we would prep everything in coolers, and even if it was something that we had to reheat, we could have it staged where we would just make some burners and set it up on our station and not even have to step foot in the kitchen except for just to cool the products. So
you got to go minimalist.
So you go minimalist. That's not the time to do like break out your Michelin style influence dishes. You know what I mean? So that's time to do great fun dishes that you can execute well for like 2,000 plus people. So.
Did you ever feel a responsibility about representing Tampa culinarily?
Yeah, so we try to obviously make it creative and make it regional. So it would either have like a Southern or Latin twist for the most part. Just I felt that's kind of represents what we kind of do here in Tampa. So
see, and then what kind of feedback were you getting? Were you getting lots of questions about Tampa as you would do it?
Yeah, people were excited about Tampa. You know, so people are like from Tampa or from Florida, some area, but. Yeah, we had great feedback on what we executed. People really enjoyed what we did, so we felt it was successful. So
I was always proud that you guys were representing Tampa because you were sort of the lead breadcrumb that people would follow back here if they were, say, coming through for a game with the Bucks. They would come and then kind of more than likely stop at Mise En Place and then kind of make their way around town and learn a little bit more about it. And you guys were the great tip of the spear, I thought.
Sure, sure. Well, that sounds good to know.
Yeah. And then when I, again, was a customer, like I said, I would walk over for lunch. What amazed me was how large your menu was. And it's like, it's not small like phone book type. Phone book, that was an old reference. I'm sorry about that. But it wasn't like teeny tiny type, but it was packed and there was always some great variety in the lunch menu. And I just remember thinking, I don't know how they execute those.
Yeah, that was always my thing to do large menus. I've gotten better. I've tried to condense them through the years. I learned that it is kind of, since I'm not the one that's executing a lot of these dishes.
Sure.
You know, I have the concept and then I give the guys or the cooks, you know, the dishes. But for the most part, outside of someone calls out and I'm on the line doing the dishes, you know, I never really, you know, I feel like, oh, we can do it all, you know. So I think we have a good method for doing that.
Right.
But sometimes it is too much, you know. So I learned that through the years,
Listen,
which is a good
the
lesson.
sales tell you everything too. You know?
Yeah, but I'd like to have variety because I feel people, if you have regulars, I don't want them to get bored of the menu. So we do with lunch. We always had, like you said, a pretty nice large menu
Right.
with a lot of features as well. So
And the great part is that it was very similar to dinner, obviously, but there was a different set of different type of elegance in the evening.
right,
But I remember specifically, you were where I had my first short rib,
okay,
and then also you were my first pork belly, and
Okay.
you were way ahead before those became like the quarter pounder of the cooking world.
right.
But I remember thinking that it felt like you were excited about a unique ingredient, and it's like, let's
Yeah.
play with it a little bit.
I was very excited, and I tried a lot of things and experimented with a lot of, even things like sweetbreads or
Right.
some things like that. And then was a hard sell. Now I think would be maybe not as hard, so I need to think about reintroducing that to the restaurant,
It can be a little more adventurous nowadays because people are used to adventure more, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So to start at the beginning, you came out of the cooking scene in Detroit.
Yes.
Talk to me about when you got your start. Where was it? Who did you learn from? And what did you kind of pick up during that time period in your life?
So I worked at a place called the Golden Mushroom. It was in Southfield under a master chef, one of 13 in the country at the time, Milos Chehelka. He was Czechoslovakian, great, amazing chef, learned a lot.
Mhm.
But at the time, that's when there was no Food Network and
Right.
all the exposure to this industry. So I was just a kid, just trying to, have a career, not like the whole chefy thing going on. And it was a great experience. And then at the same time, Brian Paulson, who's the charcuterie master, was the executive chef.
Was he really? You worked with Brian? No
So I know
kidding.
Brian. I would see him every year at Taste NFL. We still keep in touch, but in
And
fact,
he became a celebrity chef through Top Chef and all those other things too. So
yeah. So the guy, he was in that book Soul of a Chef, and his taking the master chef himself, and he described how that was so difficult, but he was incredible. And but he was, like I said, a master charcuterie chef, and then he did a charcuterie class at our place probably about 5-6 years ago,
No kidding.
and it was kind of cool. And Boozy Pig guys were there, and it was awesome. But anyway, so I learned a lot. I think I would have learned more, realizing the value of what I could have learned, but I didn't know what because of my being young.
you didn't know
and
where you're
dumb,
going to take you
so,
either.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's.
Well, I like to hear about Southfield because my wife was born in Southfield. So.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I have a little Detroit in my family. What do you
Nice.
see now? Is there anything from your Detroit days? I know it's been a while that you recognize on the plate, like, oh yeah, I remember I did that, or
I
and if not,
kind
that's
of.
cool. But that's just
I don't really. Honestly, we did kind of the cuisine there was continental, so it was pretty elevated, like continental cuisine.
classic
So,
techniques.
done technique, great, great product, great execution, serious. But when I came to Florida, I was so enamored by the fusion, like the Latin, the Southern.
Sure.
So I kind of honestly I got away a little bit from my roots,
And, what brought you to Tampa?
well, I got married to Marianne Ferentz, who's my partner.
Okay.
And we came here, just as a new beginning. And, I worked at a restaurant called RG's North for about 3 years, and then kind of started Mise En Place with Marianne. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And you're in your 37th year.
37th years in September.
And it's the cliche to ask what has changed, but it's been revolutionary in terms of the change. Tell me what the landscape was like when you started and why you chose to start where you did, because I know you moved locations.
Right.
But you started in one position, you did a little bit of catering and whatnot, but now, Mise En Place is this landmark for culinary in Tampa and has been for decades. Tell me a little bit about how that started for you guys and what the town sort of evolved into.
So we started on Platt Street, 840 square foot space, and with the intentions of catering to go was our intentions. And we were it was like basically a 6-unit little shopping place. So we started with 1 unit, and then we decided to open for lunch. So we kind of went through the wall, and then we had basically our dining room, and then we expanded to 4 spaces in that unit. So we had about a 80-seat restaurant, and then eventually we became a dinner restaurant as well. And that's kind of how the restaurant started. We kind of always maintained the off-premise catering persona, so
Okay.
we did that. And then carry out, we had this big deli case, and it was fun. I mean, and that little space was kind of pretty cool because it was like kind of rustic and
Is that the Mise Market?
no, the market was where Dats is.
Okay, okay.
So but yeah, so we it was fun and we hit and like the beginning was crazy because we were new and we weren't busy and we were
Right.
struggling and it was interesting, you know.
How long did it take you to kind of feel like you were established?
A couple of years. The first, like in the first 3 or 4 months, we were struggling. So you know, we're new business, unrecognizable from people. So it basically took a great client that we didn't know. They came in the shop and said, "Hey, I heard good things," and we did a party for her. And it went great, and
Right.
then it kind of referred us to more. She kind of really saved us, you know.
Really?
So it's pretty. I owe a lot to this person. So
You remember those customers too, man.
yeah, I'll never forget her. And then that network of people that we kind of set us up with. So that kind of
That's a
like
very Tampa story, by
yeah,
the way,
totally.
where somebody falls in love with what you do and then wants you to survive because they love what you do and they start passing you around like a gift, you know?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. So for there, then we started to feel like we were could breathe a little bit, you know, and then, you know, eventually we took the steps, like I said, to open the lunch restaurant, then dinner. And then dinner was fun because that area was kind of rough back in the day, you know. And we kind of like just made it work, you know, and it was cool.
It's all, you know, it's sort of the classic story of what like happened to Seminole Heights,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
in the mid 2000s, where it was sort of undervalued. It was kind of a neighborhood that was on the edge. And then food really revitalized that and showed what a catalyst it can be. You know, you're perched right there on Kennedy and Grand Central, and have been for decades. That was not an ideal spot at that point.
At the time, yeah.
And
it was.
now you're like a wisdom tooth. All the teeth are around you right now, and you guys proved that people would come there if it was for something that had value and uniqueness. But yeah, you're just surrounded now, and you know you've had to adapt as all those different, well, let's say competitors have kind of come through all of the town and then also that neighborhood. How have you adjusted over time? How often do you kind of look at it and say we need to refresh? Because I know you just did a renovation not too long ago.
Right, we did a renovation probably about 4 years ago.
Right.
We lightened the place up. We kind of opened it up. People seem to really like their renovations, so that's exciting for us. Menu wise, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but I'm still excited and inspired. So I try to keep elevating. You know, for our style, we're kind of I would consider we're a little on the old school style because that's just how I mean I came up with that style cooking. So we're rustic, you know, nice portions, fun, not too intimidating, you know. So we have fun with it, but I'm always trying to elevate. We offer a tasting menu. If you call us in a day or two in advance, we
Right.
can create like a nice tasting menu for you. But yeah, so we keep trying to stay current and fresh, you know. So.
And the restaurant renovation looks fantastic.
Thank
by
you.
the way. I know
Appreciate
it's
it.
kind of dated to say that because it's been a while, but it just looks current. And you know, I know from being in the restaurant business, you know, you either move forward or you die. And if you're standing still, you're going backwards. And you know, I've always thought of your bar program and your wine program as just elite. And there's been so many stars that have come out of that and gone
Right.
to other places as well. So when you have a staff, you know, I admire Mise for many reasons, but again, sort of being a greenhouse for talent. And you know, people like Farrell Alvarez has come
Right.
out of your
Yeah.
kitchen, and Ty Rodriguez has come out of your
Sure.
kitchen. Do you have it in the back of your mind about grooming and teaching, or is it we have this menu, we got to kind of get through this? I mean, where does that play in your operation?
So I kind of am like an island when I work there. Like I kind of I'm very hands on. So during the day, I write myself prep lists. I kind of butcher, make sauces, write menus, and then I kind of work. And I have a corner where I work on the line. And then people, I'm not like, hey, come here. I'm making the demi glaze. You know, I'm more like I'm making it. If you want to learn, you can watch, and ask questions. But I'm
Sure.
not like it's always been my style. I kind of like go in and bust out my prep list, and to this day still.
That's like therapy sometimes, man.
Yeah, I put on some good music and just go
it's literally your name, Mise En Place, getting ready to have everything assembled in the way it should be as you're going in to cook,
Yeah, yeah. And so with employees like Farrell and people that have worked there, I try to inspire to be creative, and encourage that. Some are better than others. Right now, my crew, I have some new people, and I'm always wanting to see what they can do,
Sure.
And I wasn't back in the day, I was more or less that way, I think, but now I'm totally embracing that as I get older, and I want to see what these younger generation can do. And so, but like I said, I'm mostly through osmosis. You watch and then learn, and a lot of people have learned that way. So
yeah, and you want to have them take the initiative to learn as well. So
totally.
And I'm guessing you probably had some of that. How did you absorb when you were in Detroit? Was it that similar kind of dynamic where it was like, okay, the hungry learners will find the master chef and learn?
Yeah. So Milos would say, "Hey, I want everyone to stay. I'm making pate." And pate is like an art, and a lot of us would say it would be free and we didn't want to stay, but I always kind of would hang back. And I remember one night Jacques Pepin was coming in for dinner, and he's a big deal, So my
legendary
chef,
French chef, yes.
he was so excited, and but I wasn't excited because I'm young and I don't know who he is, and I think I had one of his books.
That's almost better.
So I decided to stay and help execute it, but it was kind of like I felt it's kind of I just kind of knew it was what you had to do,
right?
Even though I didn't understand the value of it. But to this day, then I'm glad I did those things, And chef was great. Like Milos he was a hunter, a big hunter, and he would get a deer and hang it in the hallway, and we would learn how to pelt it,
how to dress it and all that.
Yeah, so it was cool. And so yeah, we were exposed to a lot of neat things.
I interviewed Marco Pierre White one time. This is where I name drop, by the way. I interviewed him one time for a podcast, and he talked about hunting and fishing being essential to being a chef, because he's like, if I'm out on a river, I can see what the fish are eating, what the greens are along the bank of the river. And I thought, well, that's kind of genius. And then I know what to pair with it, possibly when it comes to putting it on a plate. Same thing with the hunting was what environment am I hunting in? What are they eating in the field? What naturally complies with or combines with that flavor profile? So I always perk up when I hear that chefs are interested in that, because I think that puts you really at the base of the food source,
right.
In a different way.
Sure.
We've had this massive influx of restaurants, especially in the past 5 years since the last cookbook came out. Tell me how you've adapted a little bit to that change, obviously with the renovations part of it, but also what interesting trends are you seeing?
So the big thing right now is obviously the Michelin trend, which is exciting. I have
Did
waiters.
you ever think that Michelin would come to Tampa?
No, probably not. But now in the last few years, there are definitely obviously good Michelin style
clearly
restaurants.
worthy restaurants.
Yeah, it's totally worthy of that. So that's exciting to all of my staff. I mean, my waiters are walking around with Michelin app on their phone and talking about it, which is exciting because that means they're excited about cuisine and the industry. So.
Yeah.
But
it gives them a different standard to aim for. I mean, obviously you have a high standard, but it's like, oh, we're being watched.
Right. Yeah.
We have a level to reach to that is not only a high level in the United States, but international level, and massively respected.
Sure.
Are there other ways that Michelin has affected your operations?
I think about us. We got the nod. Like I think you guys got the nod, and that's a good honor. I mean, it definitely inspires me. It pushes me to elevate, but I feel like I don't want to change what we do for that. So I feel like, but it does push me more to like elevate what we do and, like I said, stay current and have fun with it, and our clientele, make them excited about what we're doing, and just keep pushing for that.
So we talked about the pork belly and we talked about the short rib. What ingredient is lighting your fire right now?
Right now,
you were also the first to teach me about Calabrian tomatoes And then because of those tomatoes, I recognized it when Calabrian peppers started happening, and everybody was going nuts about those.
Oh yeah, that's
But what ingredient is doing it for you now?
Well, I love using Induja,
Right.
Because it has such a good essence in like dishes, and we do a lot of dishes where we add it to like almost like a cream base.
And for people who don't know, what is Induja?
So it's like a spicy prosciutto spread, Calabrian prosciutto
You also
spread.
baptized me in Copa.
Copa, yeah.
Because you served it when you did the Sono Cafe at the Tampa Art Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And I called it the best, at the time, the best restaurant on the river. You had the beautiful view, it was wide open windows, and you were making badass gelato and sandwiches.
That was a fun place,
That was a great, great venture, and you guys did great catering there as well. But you taught me about Copa, so now I have to go find another protein. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, we don't do the Copa anymore. We used to do a lot of our charcuterie back in the day.
Right.
We had like a chamber that we used and influenced by Brian Paulson.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun, but that's when I had more bigger staff and I was able to it took a lot of time and effort, but so we're not doing as much of that as we used to, but yeah.
Do you have a favorite Tampa ingredient or a Tampa flavor that's your favorite?
A Tampa flavor? I love all the like tropical fruits that we have here, guavas and things like that.
How have you played with guava?
I do a lot of I'll use it in a gastrique or a vinaigrette or in a nice dessert or something like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm a big guava fan. Guava pastries I could eat all day long.
Yeah,
I've certainly tried. But yeah, and you love coffee, obviously, from your shirt. And it's a great coffee town, so you have to have an elevated coffee program as well, I'm guessing at Mise.
Yeah, we use Katwa, which we find to be excellent, coffee, and it works with our brand. Sure. And Raphael's a great guy.
Raphael Perrier, yeah.
Great guy, and great people to work with, and I like going there as well. So
it's funny because you being an outlet for their coffee, I remember sitting in their warehouse in South St. Pete when they were first starting out, when he had a partner with him, and he taught me all about cupping and crema and all that stuff. And I'm just sitting there, and it was like 1,000 degrees in his warehouse. They had no retail at that point, and then he eventually built the retail as well as the wholesale. And because the culinary scene has elevated over time, it's like you see Kawa and you see Buddy Brew and you see Blind Tiger. They're all increasing because of what's around them. People want better quality roasting and better quality coffees and sourcing. It might look like a restaurant, but you're really an accelerator and a catalyst, in a way. You can champion things like you were talking about the guys from Boozy Pig. I mean, third generation Tampa butcher,
right.
And somebody, a kindred charcuterie spirit. What do you see on the horizon? What excites you about where Tampa's going culinarily?
Places like Boozy Pig. I know all this whole downtown area, Water Street. I love going down there because it's just exciting,
What excites you about it?
I just think the energy of all these new restaurants, they're all pretty good, and just seeing all the people and the streets, and we haven't had that in a long time, and it's very exciting to me.
I was there on a Tuesday night a couple weeks ago, and Boulan Brasserie was full. The Pearl was full. People were sitting outside of the Addition. Small Giant was full. And I thought, okay, something's happening here.
That's cool.
On a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Clearly, the neighborhood is supporting.
Yeah.
Because, parking's not great all the time in Water Street because there's so many people. But the fact that is now part of the lifestyle of Water Street is huge. That's a tentpole. I think about you guys also because this is about 10 years ago that Tampa International Airport started putting local brands into the airport. And there were 5 that started. One of them was Columbia. There was, I think, a Green Iguana, Shula's. There were a couple others, but you and Marianne did First Flight in the main concourse, and it was a wine and charcuterie place.
Kind of like charcuterie tapas, That was fun. That was a good concept.
You were like the place where people who are waiting for flights to come in or waiting for loved ones could go and sit and kind of relax and have some nice food. And
exactly.
And what did you learn from being in the airport? Because you're back in the airport with the cafe,
right? Yeah. So the First Flight was fun,
right?
Once again, we have to kind of keep it simple, but cool. We had a decent staff over there to execute our vision. So But yeah, that was a fun concept for us. But then we started the cafe over by Mise En Place,
And Airside F.
Airside F, yeah. And that's kind of like a smaller version of the Mise En Place in Tampa. So, but that's fun. I mean, we get to kind of influence the menu where we feel that it's executable.
Right.
And yeah, it does. I'm excited about that project.
Well, and I like the idea because, I remember writing for the Tribune that when the Republican convention came to town, the last taste of Tampa they were going to have was a Chili's 2.
Oh,
And that was unfortunate. And then you guys got on board, obviously, with those first 5, and now there's over 90 local brands at the airport. It's totally transformed it to the point where, before, I guess there was a period of time where you could get a day pass to go eat around at all the airsides.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, it's a culinary destination as much as it's an airport now. That was huge.
Yeah.
But everything in Tampa seems to have food as a tentpole, whether it's Water Street or any other big project, And now, as you know, it's not just downtown or it's not just on Howard. It's out in Midtown
Right.
and West Shore and all over because people want to eat well wherever they live.
Yeah.
So your neighborhood, how has that changed for you, and how has it changed what you do as a restaurant?
So our neighborhood was kind of like you said earlier, it was a more destination, but now they've really developed that area. Our building has been kind of redeveloped recently, so it's becoming like more. I wouldn't say it's not there yet, but
Right.
it's close. I feel like it's very close. We have craft coffee shop in our building, which is awesome. Like I go there, I kind of. In the beginning I was there every day, and I took a break, and now I'm back kind of over there getting my cold brew. But they're gluten free, and it's a great concept, and so that's exciting to me. They're in our building. I think a pretty high end sushi restaurant is going at the end of where the Fly was.
Yeah, right on the corner there.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So I feel like it's close, and I think it's going to be very very cool. So,
Down in Channel District, when that started changing, that Channel neighborhood, you could literally just live in that neighborhood and not have to leave. And that feels like what Grand Central is becoming in a way.
I hope so. Yeah.
You got Publix around the corner. You got, all kinds of different restaurants there, coffee shops. You have University of Tampa right just across the street from you. But it just feels like a food-based neighborhood has kind of emerged because
it's
of you
getting
guys.
there for sure. Yeah. We started it. So
So let's talk about your recipe in Tampa's Table.
okay.
What recipe are you going to be featuring in the cookbook this
So
time?
it's basically a simple chicken recipe. It's a barbecue spice rub grilled chicken breast with a Carolina barbecue sauce, and then it's cumin grilled zucchini over just a potato puree. So,
Now, why did you pick that one?
I felt it would transfer well for the home cook. It's something we do at the airport as well. So I thought it would be pretty, easy and executable well. So
So it's at the airport. You can get it.
You can get it at the airport
if you
right
take
now.
a flight on an Airside F.
yes, sir.
That's awesome, man. So, I guess when you're handing out recipes, you have to think, what can somebody successfully make at home? Because you don't want to make them feel like they're not a great cook.
Right.
And chicken's fairly accessible. It's not like
Sure.
you're getting sturgeon from Russia or anything
Right,
like that.
right.
It's a basic thing. But what about the rub works with that recipe?
So the rub we made, so Mise En Place, we created a barbecue spice rub that we sell at the airport
Right.
or at the restaurant. And then you could use your own rub. You could make it. You could buy it at Publix or, but we just felt that was a good way to introduce our spice rub to Tampa.
So the question we've been asking is based on the fantasy that people have of what chefs eat when they're at home for comfort or when they feel like cooking. And, they have this fantasy, Wonka land idea of what you're elaborately doing at home. What do you cook when you're cooking for yourself at
So
home?
I'm going to destroy that fantasy right now. No, I'm kidding. So it used to be the green egg, and then it became the Traeger,
Sure.
and then someone introduced me to an Instapot.
Oh, aren't they awesome?
They're awesome. And so I love using the Instapot. Like, I'll do some fun stuff like a leg of lamb or breakdown or
Yeah.
short ribs or duck or even like mine can sous vide. So sous vide a turkey breast.
Yeah.
But that thing is like killer, man. So like I haven't used it recently, but when I like to do stuff, I like to use the Instapot because it is so intense.
It
flavor.
does about 20 different things. Number one, I saw a recipe for it early on for Kahlua pork.
Okay.
And
cool.
then you would put the cabbage in later and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, if I can do Kahlua pork, I can do Cuban pork.
Oh yeah.
And I was cooking Cuban pork sous vide, and it was great. But I put it in there because it speeds up the process
Right.
dramatically. Plug it with a bunch of garlic, give it some rub. You start out with bacon, and you cook bacon in the bottom of it, then you add it later, and it's astonishing what it can do
Oh,
and
my
how
God.
easy it can do it.
The one thing that I'll admit that I screwed up, which because I was so excited to do it, was corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, really?
Because I think I added things too soon,
Right.
and the cabbage and potatoes were destroyed.
Oh,
Well,
I made
so-
a batch of that in the Instant Pot, thinking I was really doing something, and I might as well just chewed on this table. It was so tough. I didn't do it right. I didn't follow directions. I thought I knew what I was doing, and so there's a little bit of nuance there, but it makes such great food.
It is, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
First time I ever really worked with a pressure cooker, so because I never used one prior to
Right.
that, and it was I just fell in love with it.
I got interested in a bunch of cooking gadgets, sous vide, smokers, the handgun
Right,
smoker because of Richard Blaze. But then I started seeing them trying to use on like Top Chef, trying to use pressure cookers, but it was old school with the rattle on the top
Right,
and everything
right,
like that. And I was like, yeah, I remember my mom makes an awesome pot roast with a old school, like, electric pressure cooker. And I was like, I'm too afraid of that. But now the Instant Pot this sounds like an ad for Instant Pot, and it's not. But I like the
Yeah.
thought that you're doing that at home.
It's fun, and like I said, you can create. And the thing about me, which is kind of cool, because I have a restaurant.
Right.
I'll prep it at the restaurant, so all I have to do is, and so I avoid the step of like if I'm making short ribs, you brine the mirepoix
Sure.
and you add the tomato paste and the wine. I'll do that part at the restaurant. So I get home, I just put it in the Instant Pot and go.
Come
so
home with a Cambro full of
that's
stuff.
it.
and,
Yeah. So I mean, that's awesome.
So what do you see for the next 5 years?
I mean, Tampa's growing. We're not really working on any new projects per se, but we're definitely trying to fine tune what we do. Always keep growing. Like I said, you can only grow with your staff too.
Right.
If you have a great staff, you can do great things. So, we've been doing it almost 40 years. I mean, I don't know how much. Like I said, how many
Sure.
years can you go?
Sure.
So I feel we got one more push, and we're excited about it. We're gonna make it probably the best pushes we can do, and
I'm telling you,
and see what happens,
An Instant Pot food truck. I could see it. I
yeah, I like it.
And then the most serious question I'll ask you, and we'll finish up with this, is what importance do tattoos have for you, and why do chefs so readily kind of attach themselves and their personality to them?
That's a good question. I got my first tattoo in Detroit
Right.
with another apprentice. We got a little dragon tattoo. You go and
Sure.
you look at the sheets, and we got it, and we.
I
felt
don't know because I don't have one, so I'm
Okay.
envious of you.
Well, we were like, I don't know how, 19, 20. I think we were like 19, and we were like, I didn't even tell him. I was dating Marianne at the time.
Right.
I didn't even tell her we were gonna get it, and we go get them. Back then we get your earrings pierced and the whole, and it was cool. I don't know. And then a few years later, I moved to Tampa, and then I thought about getting another one. And after you get the second one, you're like addicted. And I don't know if it is obviously it's a chef thing.
What is it addicting about it?
I think when you're getting one, you're already thinking about the next one you're gonna
Okay.
get. So I don't know how to describe it, but that's why when people say, why does you have like this, and you can't really explain it, because it's kind of fits your personality, why you do certain things or why you get certain
picked that in
tattoos.
that moment for that time.
Exactly. So like, even to people, you think it's silly, but you were like, it to you it's not. So that's all that really kind of matters. So.
I think about it a lot because, not a lot, but I think about it because chefs express themselves through food. What they give you to eat is their handshake. And then the tattoos to me is sort of like, this is my creative self. This is who I am, or what I'm expressing myself. Do you have any culinary tattoos we should
I
know
do.
about?
I have like a chili here. So I think I got like a little chili here. I got some mushrooms. I got some knives and some
Okay.
traditional. I got a few ones. I got a parsnip here. I got a big rooster here. So I mean, I don't know.
It's just fun.
It's just fun, and it's like at one point, so like my arms, I did a 3/4 sleeve,
Right.
because then if I wear a long shirt,
It covers it.
it covers it. But then I thought I'm not really changing careers in any time of my life, so I just
I don't
ended
think
up taking
IBM is
it.
in your future.
And
you
yeah,
know?
at one point I try to be respectable just in case, and I'm not going to any job interviews. And if I am, it's gonna be for a chef, and I'm
Sure.
already at that point.
Any Tampa
I'm too
related
far
other
gone.
than the rooster?
No, I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, I like the parsnip. It's kind of cool. I got the bull. I got a bull's head for like El Bulli, like things like that.
Fran
you know.
Adria.
So yeah. But yeah, it's cool.
That's cool. I love talking to you, and I really appreciate you
Yeah, I
coming
enjoyed it.
today.
Yeah, it was great.
I can't wait to see what the last push looks like, because it's always been delicious, and you've always been an inspiration to me. You and Marianne both have, and I appreciate everything you've brought to Tampa.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Tampa's Table, a culinary journey. Be sure to keep your eye out for other episodes of this podcast and follow along wherever podcasts are available. And be sure to pick up a copy of the book and follow along with the recipe and cook along with it with Chef Marty Blitz. Thank you for joining us.